No, because maybe Mr. Beast low-key is the Antichrist, dog. Did y'all see that he just partnered with the Rockefellers? Yeah, like J.D. Rockefeller, like one of the most powerful families in history in the world, who run the world. He just partnered with them. Mr. Beast. And there's already a lot of speculation around Mr. Beast being the Antichrist.
This is crazy. They saying the Northeast is about to get hit with some of the coldest weather on the planet right before Christmas, y'all. When I say planet, I meant planet. And when I say cold, I'm not talking about a little cold where you just put on a coat and you good. They talking about be extreme. They said this the type of cold that shut down cities and have the pipes frozen to where they might burst.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry. I'm gonna break it down for you guys. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Stay with me, y'all. Y'all know what we do. Do it every single day, man. Let's seek the truth.
There are crazy things happening in the world right now. The man who won over $2 billion in the Powerball jackpot only took home $628 million. Dang, poor guy. Thieves in Florida stole hundreds of shoes by cutting a hole in the top of the ceiling of the mall per day. The first ever orange shark found on Earth was just discovered off the coast of Costa Rica. Dogs in Chernobyl are now turning blue. Tom Brady cloned his former dog that passed away 2 years ago. The number of journalists that focus on local events has dropped by 75% in the last 20 years.
Kanye actually outsmart everyone and get out of his demonic contracts by acting crazy? Check this
This
out.
will never happen again in history.
Okay.
There will never be a situation where people end a multi-billion-dollar deal off of a tweet.
I wouldn't say never.
Gotcha. So I would like to thank everyone that was
But you can see what he's alluding to.
Thank God no one hurt the process. And I feel free.
If he's talking about what I think he's talking about, Kanye is outsmarting all of us. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments. Stay weird.
Do you think Kanye is outsmarting us, or do you think like when he's doing what he's doing, he's putting on a character, or he's really actually calculated? Like, no, he's thinking about this, like he's 10 steps ahead, man. We just don't see what he sees. I need to know down below, man, because Kanye's trying to, I guess, make a comeback, right? So I just want to see the predictions.
See this, whatever you do, do not kill it. This creature looks horrible, and if you saw this in your house, you would probably think, I need to get rid of this right now. But this is definitely an insect that you do not want to kill if you find it in your house. So this thing is actually a house centipede. They're in pretty much every environment, so if you live in the UK, you're not, safe from this. But the crazy thing is, this is actually a good thing to have in your house, believe it or not. These centipedes actually feed on other bugs such as spiders, ants, woodlouse, anything that you might commonly have in your house. But the interesting thing is, if you find one of these, it may actually indicate that there's something a lot more going on in your house, as they typically pop up when there's an infestation in the property of other things, which could be spiders, ants, anything. So if you find one of these, don't worry about it, because it's actually going to help you by eating whatever else could be there. But instead, you're going to want to check what else could actually be infesting your house, because the one thing you don't want is 100 million spiders falling on you at night.
No, because maybe
Right.
Mr. Beast low-key is the Antichrist, dog. Did y'all see that he just partnered with the Rockefellers? Yeah, like J.D. Rockefeller, like one of the most powerful families in history in the world, who run the world. He just partnered with them. Mr. Beast. And there's already a lot of speculation around Mr. Beast being the Antichrist because in a lot of ways he kind of fits the bill. And then you go and you partner with the Rockefellers. That's weird, y'all. I'm gonna be honest, that's weird because he's just an influencer, right? Or he's a philanthropist now, I guess. No other influencer has ever had any dealings with none of these powerful families. Mind you, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, JP Morgan, Carnegie, they're all from the same like family, basically. They're all in cahoots. They all work together. They all control the oil and the gas and the whole entire world. If this is not low-key kind of scary to y'all, then y'all need to do some research on the Rockefellers, dude. You also need to look deeper into Mr. Beast, because there's something about him we don't know about. And honestly, if he's really not the Antichrist, which I don't think he is, he does make a great case, right? But this dude is making some weird plays. And he has been making some weird plays. He also just doesn't seem real. Like, his face seems very AI, robotic, no emotion. You know what I'm saying? Nothing past the eyes. So this does not surprise me one bit.
Yeah, I guys really think something's going on with Mr. Beast, man. I don't know, partner with the, I guess with that type of family. You know, they have a lot of influence, man. And Mr. Beast, he was this influence, but like you said, I think, you know, he transitioned out of that FHG show philanthropist now, bro, because of, he has the biggest channel on YouTube, bro. Always giving away a lot of money, man. So he has a lot of influence, has a lot of companies. He has a chocolate bar company, makes animation videos. What else he does? Really, he's even trying to, you know, do, like, beef links or something like that, man. So he's trying to start a lot of companies, bro. And they know, man, if you get behind Mr. Beast, bro, he has major influence. So maybe that's why they partnered up with him. And yeah, then he opened up the theme park in Saudi Arabia, Mr. Beast Land or something like that. So he's big in everything, bro. What do you guys think, man? Is there something really going on behind the scenes with Mr. Beast, or he's just a regular guy and he just has a lot of influence?
Times when Ouija boards went wrong. A group of teens decided they wanted to play the Ouija board so they could, quote, put a camera down and see what happens. They made jokes about being possessed and were disrespectful the entire time playing, not taking the board seriously at all.
If anybody can hear us, move the thing, because move it.
They come back later after getting no results and decide to take it more seriously. Soon enough, the planchette begins to move on its own. After asking for its name, it moves to the letter 6. They get too scared to continue, and after thinking about it, they decide they need to finish what they started. They ask it what it wants, and it spells out the phrase, no peace, no goodbyes. Their friend Brandon then begins to act strange, moving the planchette across the board and grinning to himself. But what happened next will shock you.
Hey, that's
Still not funny after these.
hey.
According to them, Brandon became temporarily possessed and began lashing out at the group. Many people have pointed out that they never properly ended the game or followed its rules, so this could be the cause for Brandon's possession. They were able to get him under control, but he has been severely depressed ever since. Was this just a prank filmed by a few teens, or did they capture something truly evil on camera?
There's a lot of old accounts of conquistadors and explorers in early America where they all encountered some sort of giant. The conquistador Hernando de Soto, he led this expedition with 600 Spanish soldiers. Alabama, this is where they landed.
Okay.
And they're sitting in this village one day and they hear this rustling from the woods, and out comes this, they said, this giant Native American man. And the quote was, "Seeing him, we paused, dumb with amazement, a great limbed giant, the heads of our tallest men reached only his breast." And this Native American, his name was, he went by Black Panther, Wakanda,
Forever.
but he was the son of Chief Tuscaloosa. He told the Spanish, "My father would like to meet you." Like, yeah, sure. And then they came across this village. It was completely surrounded by this giant wood wall. They go in, and in the middle of this village is this giant mound. And on this mound is sitting Chief Tuscaloosa. And he's surrounded by 100 Native American men that were guarding him. They said when he stood up, he was 2 feet taller than his son. All the Spanish there are afraid. They're just like, "Oh, we've never seen a man."
Yeah, this is crazy. They saying the Northeast is about to get hit with some of the coldest weather on the planet right before Christmas, y'all. When I say planet, I meant planet. And when I say cold, I'm not talking about a little cold where you just put on a coat and you good. They talking about this shit gonna be extreme. They say this the type of cold that shut down cities and have the pipes frozen to where they might burst. Look at the map, y'all. You finna have all these places right here turn into a fucking freezer, fool. Call it frigid air. Every time we think weather can't get weirder, it gets weirder.
Yep.
One week it's warm, you don't gotta wear a motherfucking coat, just a sweater. Next week it feel like Antarctica. I don't know about the city you from, but DMV, that's how it be. I feel like they be skipping a few years, and then next thing you know is, oh my God, it's once in a lifetime cold. Oh, this is a generational Arctic blast or some shit. So if you stay up to date with me, you know this is coming if you're in the Northeast. Don't act like you're surprised. And if you ain't tapped in, you better be tapped in because I post every day. It's always something every day, so be on the lookout. Y'all let me know.
Long essay titled 3 Tough Truths About Climate, in which he stated, as truth 1, that climate change will not lead to humanity's demise, and that people will be able to live and thrive in most places on Earth for the foreseeable future. In truth 2, he said that sometimes human welfare takes a backseat to lowering emissions with bad consequences, and that because of this, resources need to be shifted away from the battle against climate change and focused towards preventing disease and hunger because, quote, climate change is not the biggest threat to the lives and livelihoods of people in poor countries, and it won't be in the future. And as part of his third and final truth, he said that he wished that there was enough money to fund every climate change idea, but there isn't, and that up until this point, too much good money has been put into expensive and questionable efforts, ultimately claiming that money spent on health and prosperity is our best defense against climate change. But the reason this is so significant is because of the influence Bill Gates has in the climate sector. So when he makes recommendations like this, people in positions of power and the ability to do things tend to listen to him. So will this trigger a shift away from climate funding? Will this have an impact on how activists speak about climate change? Or will this ultimately just get brushed off and debunked?
So I just
I don't
want to
know.
that said McDonald's sells 6.5 million hamburgers a day. And I don't know if y'all know, but 6.5 million hamburgers a day is a lot of hamburgers to be selling. And I know a lot of y'all gonna look at this video and be like, nah, that's a lot. Well, look at this shit. This is why Google is your best friend. Look at that shit right there. Roughly 6.5 million burgers each day.
Big number.
Now, if you do the math on that, that's about 195 million burgers per month that they sell. Give or take. Now, my question to you is, where are all these cows coming?
Preach.
We got some new numbers up. Give me a second. So they're saying one cow can make approximately about 2,000 hamburgers. Follow me. So if you put those numbers with the other numbers, that would mean that they use approximately around 4,000 cows a day. And if you want to do a little more math, that would mean like maybe about 100,000, maybe 90-something thousand cows a month to make 6.5 million hamburgers a day. That's simple math. I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying. Just got some new numbers. I just wanted to lay the new numbers on you. You tell me what you think. I'm out.
Stranger Things, there was actually a 6-7 meme. 11 goes...
7.
She looks at him, he's like, 7. Really? I deadass think they shot certain scenes just so they can make memes. Yo, especially that one scene with, I think her name's Robin. Which one was that? Where she goes out of nowhere, Dick! Oh, yeah!
What?
That's gonna be a Twitter meme. Oh, yeah, 100%. She's the lesbian one. Yeah, and then she goes...
Dick in the washroom, and personally, for us, I like Dick.
Clip that out of context, it'll be a big meme. There was another pause moment where Michael's like, oh, is it hard? And then Luke is like, I'll soften it up.
Let's just hope it's not too hard. It is. How soft?
How soft? How soft?
I think they're smart with it, especially with Netflix. They're making that show to make money. Yeah, 100%. That's a money grab. Yeah, to throw in jokes like that to make it kind of viral, like a memeable moment. I feel like you're seeing that in Hollywood now. Yep. They're writing it so you post about it, bro.
Not like that one! Jesus, what?
To overstand that everyone's dimension is different. My dimensions is my higher self and my lower self. But they only want us to focus on our lower self. Because once we focus on our higher self, we will understand that this reality is just an illusion of colors. You always hear these old sayings, make sure your heart is lighter than a feather. That's because we have a spaceship in our body that can activate us and take us to other world. That's why we have a Merkabah, a light body spaceship that can take us to any room, any portal, any dimension, anywhere, at any given time. But we forgot how to activate it. We forgot how to activate it because we got so attached with this physical world that our heart is now heavier than a feather. Once your heart becomes heavier than a feather, you can no longer travel the rainbow bridge and go to other realities. It is by changing our vision and our reality. We are supposed to look at the world like this. When I see you and you see me, we are supposed to see each other with these colors, these frequencies. But they changed our frequencies and our vision. Now we just see the world like this. We are not supposed to see each other like this. Now we just see people as regular human beings when we are really higher dimensional beings. This is our real vision, not this skin. Even certain animals see the world the right way. This is our vision, and this is a vision of a shrimp. They see higher frequencies or real spiritual connections. That's the big secret. It's not just a rainbow city and ice walls in Antarctica. Is millions of other different realities that we need and they need us. Remember, everything in life is connected. So as long as we are detached from these other worlds will be dying because we're not helping them and they're not helping us. The Antarctica ice walls is not just ice. They are sacred crystals that's older than everything on this planet. Once we activate our pineal gland, we will start seeing the world in frequencies and vibrations only, and not just regular human skin. This human skin is the light of illusions. It's the matrix. It's not who we truly are. That's why activating your third eye is so important. Not only will you see us in our true form, you will start seeing different spirits in their true form, and they are always communicating with us. But you gotta open your third eye.
I got another video of one of these entities. Now, some people are saying they're UFO, they're an alien. I don't know. Other people are saying it's a balloon where the air's leaking out. But let me tell you something. Watch for a little bit, and it doesn't act like a balloon where the air's leaking out. There, it just stopped. It just stopped right over this car and it's looking. If the air is leaking out and it's losing altitude, it would keep losing altitude. It wouldn't just stop. Now it changes direction. Looks at the car, changes direction. It's going to go off the street, dude. I don't know what this is, but it's something that isn't a balloon. Could it be a UFO? Yeah. It's unidentified. It's flying. It's an object. Could it be an alien? I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. But this is weird, and it's the second one I found in 2 days. 2 days, I tell you. I don't know what's going on in the world, but weird shenanigans are happening, and it's happening all over the world, and people are catching it on camera. See that thing? It's going right up the street.
Yep.
That's not a balloon losing air. How can a balloon losing air lower altitude, change course, look at a car, and then go up the street? What's going on in the world? Goodbye, entity. Bye-bye, Shabadoo!
The president of elevators just admitted the biggest elevator myth was real this entire time. Deep down inside, we all knew this was true, but that sure didn't stop us from spamming that button anyway. The elevator door close button is a lie. It doesn't actually do anything, confirmed. But there was a time it actually did work, and now there's a completely different reason they still keep them in elevators today. To be clear, it was actually the head of the national elevator industry, Karen Penafiel, who revealed this back in 2016, saying that functioning closed door buttons in elevators were actually phased out when the Americans with Disabilities Act passed in 1990, before which they actually did close the door when you pressed it. After this passed, by law, the door had to stay open for a minimum of 3 seconds to accommodate for wheelchair and other disability access. And no matter how many times you press it today, it will always take at least 3 seconds to close. But even though you know this, you are still gonna rage spam that button for a totally different purpose. Because although they no longer do anything, elevator companies still continue to intentionally include them in today's models. Turns out humans psychologically don't like the feeling of being trapped inside a moving metal box they're not in control of. Yup, it's the placebo effect, and it works. As psychology professors ran studies to show that including these buttons diminishes stress in elevators by giving people the illusion of control. So I guess you can say,
bruh,
wow,
what the hell did they do to the twins, y'all? What happened to Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, y'all? What the heck, y'all? Bro, these celebrities are something else. They are doing something to these people, y'all. This is beyond me, man. These people look like the very first cavemen. Are you kidding me, bro? What is going on here? So can we all agree that everything is going downhill right now because all the celebrities are looking cooked? Hollywood is shutting down. The music industry is crap, man. The movies are not hitting like they used to anymore. Like, we're literally waking up from this illusion. And all of this was part of the illusion, y'all. Like, it's crazy how they are changing so much, man. Every person that we grew up with or that we know that we watch on television has changed exponentially. They even got them rocking all the gold, man. Like, what? Like, is this part of the golden age? You know, the golden dome, that whole Donald Trump thing? Like, this is crazy. Hollywood is doing way too much, man. They got these girls looking like the troll dolls. Like, y'all remember them things, the troll dolls? But I heard this is Louis Vuitton's new cover for their Christmas magazine. They're really trying to get y'all to go out there and go all out and buy some stuff because they're giving you twins this year. Like, y'all see that? Like, nobody's buying stuff, so they decided to give you twins. A 2-for-1 deal. Very interesting time that we live in, y'all. Let me know what you guys think about it.
This is the scariest truth about hell I bet you didn't know. You see, when Jesus returns and sets up the holy city, Jerusalem, and when we get our heavenly bodies, and when we're reunited with our families and loved ones in eternity, did you know that hell would be open for all to see? Don't believe me? Read for yourself. Verse 24, the Lord says, as they go out, they will see the dead bodies of those who have rebelled against me, for the worms that devour them will never die, and the fire that burns them will never go out. All who pass by will view them in utter horror. There's a reason you're watching this video. Hell was not made for you. Jesus is coming back, and he gave his life for you so you don't have to go there. Like and comment below. Wow. Follow and subscribe for more.
Updating our knowledge base. That's what we do every single day.
Public school system's failing, and this is proof. Why did we forget about Gibbons? Y'all know about gorillas, chimps but a different R rating, and this guy. Gibbons got left behind and left off the grade Ape lunch table. Not this time. I said this for gorillas, but Gibbons are really a whole walking comedy special without even trying. They're famous for the way they get from A to B, and there's actually a term for this. It's called brachiating. He sure does. It also means they have the most out-of-pocket wingspan nature's ever seen. Though it's a good thing they're still alive, because finding a fossil that could jump rope its own skeleton, that Jumanji jump would have put us in another pandemic. There's about 20 strains of this arms longer than a Prohibition tree goblin seasoning the earth, including the white-cheeked gibbon, which definitely isn't venom. Apparently, out of all the apes, they're the only ones that mate for life. Including us. That's right, the throat scroll. Well, it's basically a built-in megaphone meant to amplify their calls. Why do they call? Well, some have a door, some have a gate, but gibbons, nah, they mark territory off straight. Basically, they use it to announce the borders of their turf, and you can hear it a mile out. In fact, gibbon couples will sing duets throughout the day, and sometimes they'll even bring the kids to make it a family matter. Also, if you're curious, for these ones, they're all born golden to, blend in, but they all turn black when they're 6 months old. The males stay that way, but the females revert back to gold when they're older. So you can go back. They're silly, whimsical, tiger bullying branch merchants with more reach than Go-Go Gadget that could, let's be real, probably rip your arm off if they really wanted to. They may not be grade A's, but they are to me.
The Boulder police now have a complete DNA profile of the killer. It's actually been in the national database since 2008. JonBenet Ramsey's father was just interviewed by Ashley Flowers. The interview was super long, but here's everything you need to know. There's so many updates to this case. The DNA was found in her panty. It contains both her blood and the saliva of an unknown male. This has been used to exclude her father from being a suspect. I'm just here to tell you what happened in the interview. You can still think what you want. This also excludes people who made false confessions, but this shows us that it wasn't just from random sources like factory workers or innocent people. Even though this DNA has been compared to hundreds of thousands of people in this national database, they have not found a match yet. So whoever did it is still unidentified. The reason why this DNA evidence is so important to the case is because it finally put the rumors to rest that her family was involved in this case. Because they tested the family's DNA and it didn't match this unknown man's DNA that was mixed in with her blood that was the unknown man's saliva. There's a lot to cover in this though, so I'm gonna make another part. It's already up. Go check it out. And hit the plus for more if you like this stuff.
A teenager who felt like Dexter lured a 13-year-old girl into the woods before essaying her and taking her life, all to fulfill his fantasy. 13-year-old Milana Lee was found dead in a creek in Washington County, Oregon on May 10th of 2022. Lee's mother reported her disappearance the day before, sparking a massive search, and they didn't have to look very far as she was found under a mile from her home and school. Her death was ruled a homicide, and authorities discovered through cell phone data and security footage that she was last seen with Daniel Gore, who was 16 years old at the time. Gore was tracked down the same day and found at a local library and made a run for it, but was caught after a 20-minute chase. They also discovered Gore's tent that he was living in not far from Lee's body, and inside they discovered a journal detailing his love for violence. In it, he said he felt like Dexter, and he also carved symbols on nearby trees. He also tried concocting an alibi by stealing her phone, texting a handful of his friends, and repeatedly claiming that him and Lee parted ways at a bus stop. But surveillance video from the bus stop showed the two walked off together towards Gore's hideout in the woods. They also found photos of violent essay on Gore's phone and realized that he essayed her and then took her life. Gore, who is now 18 years old, was tried as an adult and was convicted in less than 90 minutes on all 4 counts during the 2-week trial. He was emotionless the entire time and didn't testify. Rest in peace to Milana Lee, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
He was mixing, man, fiction and fantasy, bro. Those... No, real life and fantasy, bro. Those don't mix, man. Dexter is a freaking show. You can't obviously do those acts that in the real world, bro. And he completely, if you can miss the point of Dexter would never even do something like that. That's a whole completely different conversation, man.
As an animal nerd, I love this video because it murks the 2 birds I've been throwing stones at for a minute. Cows are proof that animals are only as vegetarian as their options. There was one time a cow in Australia was caught slurping a python like it was a crunchy fruit roll-up. Really took a whole sand python to their mouth and sucked the skin off that snake. Calm down. They also show on kangaroo carcasses, but the point is, a lot of the animals you think are herbivores tend to get all kinds of creative when they're dealing with some kind of deficiency. It's why giraffes eat bones, why deer pack up poultry, and why hippos... Nah, that's just hippos. The other thing is, that's not just a snake, but a cobra, as in a kind that can spit venom, and they're scientifically proven to go for the face. But the thing is, venom's expensive to make, at least physically. Snakes don't want to use it unless you convince them that they have to. I think it's something like half of all the bites from venomous snakes are actually dry, and for some species that could be up to 80. What's my point? My point is, with a predator, it could be a snake, a shark, or a bear. You gotta convince them you're worth the effort, energy, or poison they take to cancel you. Most of the time, they're not even checking for you. The other point is, just because it runs on grass don't mean it won't make you part of the past. Fun fact, by the numbers, this is one of the deadliest animals in Australia. And next to it's a snake. The more you know.
A woman allegedly kept her baby hidden from everyone by hiding her under a drawer under her bed from the time she was born till she was 3 years old when someone found her. This is so heartbreaking. This poor child could not even crawl at 3 years old, and she was so severely underdeveloped. This happened in England. The baby was discovered in February of 2023, and this is how the baby was discovered. Apparently, a partner of the mother's who was not allowed upstairs in the house had came back to the house to use the bathroom. I'm assuming no one was in the house at the time, but when he went inside the house, he heard a sound coming from upstairs that sounded like a baby crying. So he followed the noise, and it led him to a bedroom, and the noise was coming from underneath of the bed. He pulled out this drawer, and inside was a 3-year-old child. He runs out of the home and went and told his mother what he had just saw, and immediately the police were called. Social workers and police arrived on the scene, and according to a social worker, she said it was one of the saddest things that she had ever seen. She was in shock. She said that she went up to the bedroom with the mother of the baby. She said, "Is this where you keep the baby?" And the mother replied, "Yes, in that drawer," and she allegedly said that no one else knew about her. The mother, who has not been identified, told authorities that she was in an abusive relationship and she did not want to tell the child's father that she was pregnant. A medical examiner examined the child and found that the child could not crawl, could not walk, could not talk, and was making like soothing sounds, like repetitive and rocking back and forth. Her hair was matted, she was severely malnourished, she was dehydrated, she had a cleft lip that had not been treated, and her mother allegedly was feeding her through a syringe. When the baby was found, she was 35 months old, and her mental capacity and physical capacity and everything that she could do was equivalent to a 10-month-old. Within 2 weeks of the baby girl being in the hospital, she did start to vocalize. She was crying when she needed things. She also did have surgery on her lip, but there are other surgeries required. On November 26th, the mother was sentenced to 7 years and 6 months in prison.
Just a few hours after this video was recorded, the young girl pictured in the video would be dead. So this story is incredibly tragic and happened in March of 2024. This is Manvi, a girl from the Punjab region in India. In March of this year, Manvi was celebrating her 10th birthday, and her family pre-ordered a cake from a local place called Cake Kanha. So as you can see at the beginning of this clip, they ended up eating the cake for Manvi's birthday, and they all seemed to be enjoying it. But shortly after eating the cake, Manvi and her sister started violently throwing up. After they had vomited for a while, Manvi then started to complain of a dry throat. She was very thirsty and tired, and she went to bed. Sadly, though, Manvi's condition grew worse and worse throughout the night, and in the morning when her parents decided to rush her to the hospital, it was too late, and she was declared dead shortly after arrival. This is the cake in question. Now, according to reports I found online, sections of this cake were sent in to investigators to be tested. The family believes that this was a food poisoning case, and that somehow the bakery had included a toxic or poisonous substance inside of the cake, but I couldn't find any further information about what ended up happening. But it's clear with Manvi and her sister growing violently ill, the entire family got ill after consuming this cake, that it was related to this baked good. If you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast Murder in America that I co-host with my wife Courtney. It's available on all streaming platforms.
Man, you gotta even watch the freaking birthday cakes now, man. What is the world coming to? You can't even eat a freaking birthday cake without it being messed with.
Without ever meeting in person. 29-year-old Daisy Link and 24-year-old Joanne DeBuzz are facing separate murder charges and are staying at the same prison. While they were both awaiting trial, they began communicating with each other through the air conditioning vents in their cells. Despite the unusual circumstances, they formed a close bond. During one of these air vent conversations, Joanne told Daisy that he always had a desire to have a child, but since he was incarcerated, this may never happen. He then told Daisy that if he ever had the choice, he would choose her to be the mother of his child. Before long, the two had developed a plan to conceive. They came up with this plan that they were going to use the same air vent system that they used to communicate. Over the course of a month, Joanne would carefully wrap his in plastic wrap about 5 times a day and roll it just like a cigarette. He would put it through the air vent system, and once it reached Daisy's cell, she would carefully take it out. Once it reached Daisy, she used an applicator to insert the fluid inside of her body. After a few attempts, Daisy found out she was pregnant. In December of 2023, Daisy called her family with the great news that she was pregnant, and she told them that she had originally asked staff for a pregnancy test back in November, but they were ignoring her request until December. On June 19th of this year, Daisy gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and now that baby girl lives with Daisy's mother. Jail officials were initially concerned about how Daisy got pregnant. They thought maybe she got SA by one of the inmates or staff members, but once they did a DNA test, it did confirm that Joanne was the father of the baby. Daisy stated that she was surprised that this plan even worked, but felt like everything happens for a reason. After the incident, the two ended up becoming separated, but they do communicate through phone calls and video chats with their daughter.
This teacher, known as the camel toe teacher, was just arrested for having a relationship with a 16-year-old student. The teen's father was also arrested for knowing about the relationship and failing to report it to authorities. This woman's name is Haley Clifton Carmack. They arrested her charged with SA of a student, 4th degree endangerment of a child, and 2nd degree SA. She was arrested in Garden Ridge, so she's about to be extradited back to Missouri. She was listed as a math teacher in Lackey High School in Lackey, Missouri. They also investigated the text messages between her and the student as well. There were a lot of messages. It's more than likely she knew she was in hot water and left the state for Texas. Police got a tip about her leaving to Texas, so that's how they found her. This happened a while ago too, back in January. I'm not sure what kind of sentencing she'll get. My guess, maybe like 5 or 10 years. But a lot of people are questioning why the father was arrested, but he knew what was going on. Many are saying he's probably just proud of the son and brushed it off. And others are questioning how she got the nickname Camel Toe Teacher. Let me know what you guys think about this story.
How many people are...
Yeah, that's actually the interesting part. Yeah, Camel Toe Teacher, that already throwing up red flags already. Having a nickname like that going around. School still hired her. And that don't even get me started on the dad, man. Just fed his son to the wolves. We gotta be aware.
Are needed to execute an inmate on death row? Well, it varies from state to state, but in North Carolina, 12 people, all part of the execution team, are present. The team includes 1 physician, 2 registered nurses, 2 EMTs or paramedics, and 7 correctional officers. The physician's role is to monitor the inmate's breathing and heart function. They must notify the warden immediately if the patient has any undue suffering or pain. The role of the registered nurses is to supervise the administration of the lethal injection drugs and supervise the insertion of the IV. The role of the EMT or paramedic is to insert the IV and place the EKG leads. The roles of the correctional officers differ. One is called the executioner, who actually administers the lethal injection. 1 or 2 of the guards are in charge of transporting the inmate from his cell to the death chamber, and the remaining officers are in charge of security. Little challenge question for you. If there are 5 healthcare professionals, one of whom is a doctor, in the room, why do you think a correctional officer is the person in charge of administering the lethal injection?
To a crocodile because of his disability. 6-year-old Vinod lived in India with his parents Ravi and Savitri Kumar. His mother worked as a house helper and his father worked as a construction worker. Vinod's parents would often fight about his disability, and his father would taunt his mother about giving birth to a deaf son. His father would go as far as telling his mother to just get rid of him. One night in May of this year, Savitri was getting tired of her husband's daily taunting and arguing about her son, so she knew she needed to do something. It was around midnight and Vinod was asleep, so she carried her son and threw him into a waste canal, and this was a crocodile-infested river. When Savitri returned home, her mother's senses returned, and she realized what she just did. She started screaming as she threw her son into the river. Neighbors heard her scream, so they went over to help her to go look for Vinod, and they alerted the police. Police arrived at the river. It was nighttime, so it was very hard to see if Vinod was somewhere in the water, so they decided they were going to check the next day. The following day, they found the deceased body of Vinod, and it was inside of a crocodile mouth. Vinod suffered from serious bite wounds, and he was missing one of his arms from the crocodile. Ravi and Savitri were both arrested for murder and are awaiting trial.
William Moult disappeared off the face of the earth for 22 years, and he was only found because of a Google Earth discovery 22 years later. In November of 1997, William Moult was at a Florida nightclub enjoying some drinks. He decided to pack up and go home to his girlfriend. However, that night, William would never make it home, and his girlfriend began to panic because he was not one to have erratic behaviors, and he was also not one to be late to anything. His family and his girlfriend hadn't heard from him for hours, so they called the police and filed a missing persons report. His car, which was a white Saturn, could also be found nowhere. It had no leads or anything like that, and the case went cold for 22 years. There would be no leads until 2019, when a random resident in the area was messing with Google Earth and found the image of a car in a pond. The resident decided to call the police to have them investigate, and when they pulled the body out, it was confirmed to be William Moult in there. They took a look back at the plans in 1997 when he died, and there was no residential homes around this area. However, the irrigation pond had been built and there was no lights. So they suspected he accidentally crashed into this pond because of no lighting, then he was unable to escape his car. It's crazy how something as simple as Google Earth can crack a 22-year-old cold case. This gave closure for William's family and his girlfriend. Originally, it was thought something really bad happened to him on the way home. Maybe somebody took his life.
What is one true crime case that you just can't stop
Thankful
thinking
for
about?
Google Earth.
I always wonder what really happened to 6-year-old Catherine Corzilius. On August 7th, 1996, Catherine, along with her mom Nancy and her brother Chris, were out running errands. Catherine's dad was Paul Corzilius, who at the time was the tour manager for John Bon Jovi. That day was Paul's birthday, so they were all out looking for a present for him. They all lived on Elder Circle, which is a small neighborhood near Austin, Texas. When they got back to Elder Circle, Catherine wanted to pick up the mail from the community mailbox and then walk home. The mailboxes were only about 1/8 of a mile from their home, and Catherine had done this a few times before, so her mom let her. Catherine would take the shorter route home, while her mom and brother would take the longer route around Elder Circle. This way, they would be getting home at almost the same time. But once Nancy and Chris got home with still no sign of Catherine, Nancy sent Chris to go and look for her. But when Chris couldn't find her, Nancy started searching for her by car. Within minutes, they found her laying in the middle of the road on Elder Circle. She was unconscious, but still breathing. According to Nancy, she didn't want to make her daughter lay on the hot pavement, so she picked her up and took her to the hospital. Little Catherine suffered from a fractured skull and never regained consciousness, and sadly, she died later that day. Authorities initially thought that Catherine was a victim of a hit and run, but certain things didn't add up. Where Catherine's body was found was in an unusual spot. Her mom last saw her walking towards their house, but her body was found a little over a mile away from their home in the opposite direction that she was supposed to have gone. Catherine's body was actually found along the route that her mom and brother took to get home, and the autopsy only deepened the mystery. The autopsy showed that Catherine didn't die from a hit and run. Along with her head injury, she also had abrasions on her left shoulder, lower back, right hip, and her knees. The ME found that Catherine had either jumped, fallen, or was thrown from a moving vehicle. One theory investigators came up with was that Catherine maybe tried to hold on to the back of her mom's car on the drive home, but fell off. This would explain the location of where her body was found. But her family did not believe this, so they hired a PI. The PI noted that it was a really hot summer day, and at the time, Catherine's left thumb was broken and in a splint, so it would have been really difficult for her to hold on to anything. And it's likely her mom would have seen her in the rearview mirror. Catherine's family believes she was abducted and murdered. After her death, investigators brought in a canine unit that tracked her scent to a vacant lot 30 yards from the mailboxes, but it was lost after that. This sparked a theory that Catherine was approached by an attacker at the mailboxes, ran into the lot, was caught and thrown into a car, struck in the head, and then was thrown out of the vehicle where she was found. Nancy also stated that it appeared her daughter's body was laid out for her to find. Her hair was smoothed down, her clothes were straight, and her sandals were still on. Unfortunately, there's never been any answers in this case, and it's still labeled a suspicious death. John Bon Jovi wrote a song dedicated to Catherine called August 7, 415. And sadly, in March of 2020, Catherine's brother Chris, who grew up to be a police officer, was tragically killed in a car accident.
Man. I need justice for that family.
Imagine growing up knowing that you were adopted, and 60 years later, when you take an ancestry DNA test, you find out that your birth mom was the victim of one of the most notorious cold cases in American history. Richard Hanchett was born in 1958 in Michigan, and he was immediately given up for adoption by his birth mother. In 2018, Richard, who still lived in Texas, decided to take an ancestry DNA test, and he was immediately matched with relatives from his birth mother's family. He connected with them and even went down to Tennessee to finally meet them. And that's when Richard learned that his birth mother, Ruth Marie Terry, had been missing since the early 70s. For decades, her family searched for her, but they were unable to find her, until 2022. In October of this year, the FBI and Massachusetts State Police announced that nearly 50 years later, they had finally identified the victim of the oldest unsolved homicide case in Massachusetts, the Lady of the Dunes. And the Lady of the Dunes was identified as Ruth Marie Terry. On July 26, 1974, a little girl was hiking with her family when she came across the body of a mutilated woman. Her hands were missing. Police believe this was in an attempt to get rid of her fingerprints so they couldn't identify her, and her head was nearly severed. Detectives searched motels and rooming houses and even reviewed thousands of missing persons cases from Massachusetts. They also used clay models to recreate what the Lady of the Dunes might have looked like. Her case unfortunately went cold, and some even speculated that she was the victim of the South Boston gangster Whitey Bulger. In 2000, authorities had her body exhumed to extract DNA, but it wasn't until recently that they were able to use genealogy testing to identify her. This is the same technique that was used to identify the Golden State Killer. Now flash forward to November of this year, authorities announced that they had a new development in the investigation. They had now identified the Lady of the Dunes. Now they had to identify who her killer was. Authorities revealed they were seeking information on a man who was already deceased. This man was known as Guy Rockwell Moldavan. Guy was an antique dealer, and he was actually arrested in 1960 in connection to the disappearance of his former wife and her daughter. Remains believed to be theirs were found in their Seattle home. He only served a suspended sentence, so he actually got released in 1962. Now, court records indicate that Guy and Ruth actually got married in Reno, Nevada in February of 1974, just months before she was killed. Now that they have her identity, this case is being treated as a homicide investigation by the Massachusetts State Police and FBI.
It should.
The public is actually being asked to review Terry's Seeking Information poster. This includes newly released photos and a little bit more information. This case is still ongoing.
This girl got caught digging a hole in the backyard to bury her newborn in just hours after she gave birth to him. What? I'm going to give you a trigger warning because the details of this are pretty messed up. Her name's Leticia Rodriguez. She's 17 years old from Marietta, Georgia, and she was arrested on Sunday after she got caught digging the hole by her uncle. According to the report, she gave birth to the baby without anybody's help in the early hours of Sunday morning at her home. After the baby was born, she allegedly ended his life, and I'll tell you how. And then she wrapped him up in a blanket and put him into a grocery bag. Then about 6 hours later, she decided to go out next to this big tree and start digging a hole. Her uncle came out and caught her doing it and called authorities, and when they arrived, they found the deceased infant at the property. Now, she was originally charged with concealing a death, abusing a dead body, and abandoning or throwing away a dead body, but they announced on Friday that she has more charges. An officer said that the baby was very clearly injured, so when they started questioning her, she actually talked. Now, Letitia and her family were originally from Guatemala, but they had moved into that home about 2 years prior. And when neighbors spoke to the police, they weren't able to give them a lot of answers because apparently they never even noticed a teenage girl was living there. She was sent to the hospital to receive postpartum care, but when she's released from there, she's going straight to jail. Police say the investigation is ongoing and she might receive additional charges after the medical examiner determines the exact cause of the baby's death. And I just want to remind everybody of safe havens. You can take your new baby to a hospital, fire station, police department, and hand your baby over without any questions asked. Or if you want to remain anonymous, several of those types of locations have baby boxes where you can just put your healthy, living baby into the box, walk away, and that's that.
Poor girl was essayed by her father for 12 years, had 3 children with him, all while her grandparents knew. This all happened in West Virginia. Alexandra Thomas was only 9 years old when her father, Kenneth Cook, began essaying her. She gave birth to her first child at 16, her second child at 18, and her third child at 20 years old. This is her dad's Facebook account. It says Daddy's Baby Girls. Disgusting. Alexandra said that at the age of 9, she tried to tell CPS, but her grandmother worked very closely with them and told them that she was lying. She said that her grandfather also knew what was going on, but he wasn't surprised and just didn't care. She said that her father threatened her multiple times that if she said anything again, he could make her disappear. She wasn't allowed to have a phone, friends, and he kept her away from her mother's family so that this secret wouldn't get out. Alexandra posted this on Facebook, and basically she said that her youngest was born with severe health issues and stayed in the hospital for the first week, but since her father was scared that the truth would be exposed, he forced her to keep the baby at home, all while he needed medical attention. This disgusting family secret was finally revealed one day when the youngest child was found malnourished. He was only weighing 6 pounds at the age of 1. That's when they did a genetic testing and found out that Kenneth and Alexandra were related. This monster faces more than 150 charges, and his parents can also be charged because they knew this entire time and they never reported it.
This is trypophobia.
The world is going to a freaking dark place, dark old man. The grandparents knew and they did nothing to try to stop it. They just ignored us. Hey, ain't my problem. Come on, man. People need to be better, plain and simple.
Phobia test, extreme edition. Can you make it through all 5? Let's find out. Start the test. Number 1. How about this?
I'm cool.
Halfway through. Feeling uncomfortable yet? Last one. If you couldn't make it to the end, then you could have trypophobia, which is the fear of clusters of small holes or patterns. Follow now to see if you can make it through the next extreme phobia test.
I made it. Where was she at?
If you're scared of snakes, this video will probably be your worst nightmare. This absolute unit of a snake is called the Titanoboa, and they existed over 60 million years ago. These things were slithering around at almost 50 feet long, and let me just put that into perspective for you. That would be like lining up 8 Shaquille O'Neals from head to toe, and we know that dude's massive. Now, God didn't want to make them too overpowered, so he didn't give them any venom, but he did give them the ability to be amazing swimmers and even faster than a racehorse when moving on land. Now, although the Titanoboa doesn't have any venom, it is a constrictor, so when it catches its prey, it crushes the absolute soul out of it. Its jaw then unhinges, allowing its mouth to open wide enough to consume a whole human, alligator, really anything else. You might be thinking, with all this power, how did this beast go extinct? Well, it's not because they skipped leg day. No. You see, when the Earth cooled down, they couldn't maintain their metabolism anymore and went extinct. You can thank God that they're not around today. Make sure you share this video with someone who hates snakes.
Today I'm going to show you one of the scariest things on the internet. When is the last time any of you guys have actually checked your spam folder? Well, today I got really bored and I was checking my emails and I clicked on my spam folder and I came across this. This is a spam email and it is basically threatening me that if I don't send $1,300, they're going to ruin my life. Firstly, I already know you and all of your loved ones very well. Secondly, the occasion for which I'm writing to you is not the happiest one for a friendly greeting. The next part of this email then proceeds to tell me that it has access to my webcam and that it's been monitoring my activity for the last few months and I've been up to some not good things. Apparently, I've been watching a highly controversial video. They recorded it. Then they proceed to tell me that they have access to my entire contact list and they're going to be sending this controversial video they recorded of me to all my friends, colleagues, and family. Here is the bad part. I can go further and put all of these files as well as the recorded fun of you and your hacked contents with hardcore videos. Then they proceed to say, send me $1,300 and I won't send it. Well, that got me really interested because I was like, there's no way people are actually dumb enough to fall for this scam. Right? They have made a total of $4,547. So that makes me wonder, what type of videos are these people who are sending the money watching? Look, I'm not telling people to do this, but they've made about $5,000 in like 4 days. Not that bad. But the real question is, what type of videos were these people watching where they felt scared enough to actually send the money? Be sure to like and follow for more videos tomorrow.
He's actually asking important questions, man. They sent $1,300 here. What were they watching, bro? They must have been watching something they wasn't supposed to, man. They were that scared. Because obviously you can tell that was a fake email, but it scared him to the core. He was doing something they weren't supposed to be doing.
Morbid Facts, Part 10. When 13-year-old Ryan White got AIDS from a blood donor in 1984, he was only given 6 months to live. Even though doctors said he posed absolutely zero risk to other students, Ryan was banned from returning to school by a petition signed by 117 parents. An auction was even held to raise funds to keep him out, and a local newspaper that supported him received death threats. The family had no other choice but to leave town when a bullet was shot through the window of their home. Ryan outlived the doctor's diagnosis by 5 years, dying at the age of 19. In 2009, Moscow native Julia Popova was stabbed in the neck by a mugger, but she was in so much shock that she walked home without even realizing that the knife was embedded in her, just millimeters from her spinal cord. She spent over an hour with the blade in her back before finally going to the hospital. The knife was successfully removed via surgery, and Julia made a full recovery. Dutchman Dirk Willems was a religious prisoner who escaped his execution in 1569. When the guard chasing him fell through the ice in a nearby river, Willems turned around to save him. He was then recaptured and burned at the stake. Your lungs have a total surface area of 750 square feet, meaning if they were opened up and laid flat, they would cover the entire size of a tennis court. In 1977, the drummer for Lynyrd Skynyrd, Artemis Pyle, survived the plane crash that killed half the band. He then walked to a nearby house for help, only to be shot by the homeowner. He was apparently startled by the sight of a long-haired, bloody man, and fired a warning shot that hit the drummer in the shoulder. Once Pyle shouted that there was a crash, the farmer helped him and he went on to recover.
Just wait for the video at the end where you see this giant thing submerged. It's beautiful. It's not. This is the gigantic crocodile animatronic used for the 1999 movie Lake Placid. Look at the animatronics mechanics that are going to be completely submerged, including most of it. And this is how absolutely massive it is. It was made by Stan Winston and his crew, and they're geniuses. It's great, but this horrifies me. I'm suing. Like, here's it in the water, mostly submerged, with bro up there. I could never, you could not pay me to be a guy in the freaking water like this. No. Like, could you ever get in the water with this thing? With this gigantic crocodile animatronic? No. Nah. This is the gigantic rig that is actually the, like, skeleton of the crocodile that's completely submerged. Like, look at this. Look at this. Knowing it's completely submerged in the water, I hate it. Look at this one. What's that underneath him? That's a person that's, like, fixing things underneath it. Let's look at it again. Could you ever do that? They use a giant winch to put it in the water. Like, why? They could have completely used CGI. They should have. I'm scared. This is one of the worst ones for me. Watch this video and let me know what you're thinking. And could you ever be in the water with that?
Imagine seeing that, man. You don't even think that's an animatronic. You would think that was real. You really can't tell the difference.
Here are some signs that you won't believe actually exist. Alright, here's the first one. Please do not stand, sit, climb, or lean on zoo fences. If you fall, animals scare you, and that might make them sick. Thank you. This container transports a disease which has no cure. Why? Danger, if you fall in the pond, you will be boiled. Attention, make sure the door is closed tightly so bears can't get in, thank you. Why would bears be getting in? What the Really hoping the same sign is on the entrance of the slide. Oh, surely it isn't. Do not grab Hamish by the horns. I will not grab Hamish by the horns. If elevator does not move, do a small jump, it should move after. Nah, why would it move? What? Danger, do not get on elevator with one of these. If it leaks, you'll die. Why would someone get an elevator with one of these? What?
Behind me is 14-year-old George Stinney Jr., and at the age of 14, he was falsely accused of killing 2 girls. This happened 80 years ago, and this little kid was sentenced to death by the electric chair. They found the bodies of 2 young girls by George's house, so they automatically blamed him, even though they had no evidence whatsoever. On top of the false accusations, he spent 81 days in jail without even seeing his parents, and he was 80 miles away from his hometown. And he also did not get treated well. He didn't even have a lawyer in his presence during the time of questioning, and he was a kid, so he doesn't know better. He also did not receive a fair trial. The trial lasted 2 hours, and then it was handed down in 10 minutes. His parents weren't even allowed in the courtroom, and then they were banned from the city. On the day of his execution, he was carrying a Bible with him, and then they had to prop him up on that same Bible because he was too short for the electric chair. 70 years later, they overturned this conviction, saying that this case didn't make any sense. Apparently, the girls died because blunt force trauma by a beam. George is way too small to lift that beam up, so they were like, there's no possible way. But the damage was done. This was 70 years way too late. The Green Mile by Stephen King was inspired by this story. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Let's see if you have thalassophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. If you feel too uncomfortable to make it to the 5th photo, then you could have thalassophobia. So let's go. First one. How about this?
I'm cool.
Feeling uneasy yet? Almost there. Last one. If those images made you feel uneasy, then you may have thalassophobia, which is the fear of deep bodies of water. So let me know if you discovered a new phobia down below.
But I wouldn't go that deep in water, so I think the last one got me, man. I'd never go that deep. That ain't for me. Somebody in there with him? Yep.
This film director was found stabbed to death inside of her London home. One thing was missing, it was her diamond-encrusted Rolex, and they think that is the motive for the murder right now. Her name is Jennifer Abbott, but she was known professionally as Sarah Steinberg. Now here's the crazy part, she was found by her niece and neighbors, and when they found her, she had tape over her mouth. Somebody stabbed her, maybe taped her mouth before they stabbed her, and then took her stuff and headed out. On top of this, she was found wrapped in a blanket on her bed. She was last seen walking her corgi on June 10th. Now that same very corgi was found alive. However, it was locked in the bathroom for 3 days, so it's a miracle that thing even survived. The niece was panicking that something was wrong with her aunt when she showed up initially. She got the neighbors, and the neighbor's son ended up breaking the door down. People are saying she also had stomach cancer and recently underwent surgery right before her death, which makes me think personally, somebody must have heard something, maybe she went through surgery and was recovering, and then that made her the perfect victim for their attack. Of course, she's a very successful director. She's going to have expensive things probably laying around her home. Do you guys think there's something fishy behind the scenes? Let me know.
Was this woman saved by her guardian angel? Joan wrote on Catholic.org that when she was 21, she was heading to a club with 2 friends. She said that as she got ready, she started feeling really odd. Then she said that it became clear to her that her and her friend were going to get into a car accident and she would not walk away from it. This was before cell phones, so she had to wait for her friend to tell her that she could not go with her since she had already left her house when Joan had this revelation. When Joan opened the door to tell her friend that she would not be going, she said that she felt a strong hand on each of her shoulders holding her back, even though she was completely alone in the room. Once she told her friend that she could not go with her, she said that the hands and the odd feeling went away. On the way home from the club, her friend got into a car accident and totaled the passenger side of the car where Joan would have been sitting. She was fine, but the passenger side of the car was completely destroyed.
I need to know how you feel about abandoned water parks, because if you're anything like me, you hate this. Look at this in the water. That shouldn't be there. That's supposed to float, not sink. Why is abandoned places, number one, terrifying, but also abandoned amusement parks and water parks so much worse? This image with the graffiti, that's actually beautiful. I don't like this though. This is still water. Icky. We got Cosmo and Wanda, or more recently, Elphaba and Glinda. The pipes in the water of this one in particular sends me over the edge. I have a huge phobia of pipes and water. Call me stupid, make fun of me all you want. This is icky, and I know I'm not the only one. Imagine that you're exploring an abandoned water park late at night, and you decide to go in there, and you get stuck, and there's no one to save you. I don't like that. Why am I scaring myself? Like, that's not safe, dude. That's not... Please get down. Please get down. I'm gonna call your mom.
It really is.
Like, why? Why do people do this? I just don't like the fact that nature is taking this place back. It's beautiful. Terrifying, though. So, yeah. How do you feel? Terrifying, right? Or am I dumb yet again?
Maybe I go exploring. Abandoned water park during the day, but not during night. I don't know what creepy crawler's gonna try to come out. So yeah.
World's most dangerous conspiracy theories. This picture represents conspiracy theories from the most well-known to the darkest. Some of these theories say once you learn the truth, there's no return. For this series, we're going to be picking some from each category until we reach tier 10, the point of no return. Tier 10 is so scary that some people are saying that I will die before I even reach tier 10. Okay, tier 1. Today we're going to be talking about cryptozoology. Cryptozoology is defined as the search for animals whose existence is disputed. For example, Bigfoot, Chupacabra, and the Loch Ness Monster. For this one, I want to talk about the Ningen. The Ningen is based in Japan. It's an aquatic humanoid creature that can be larger than a whale but also mutate into a human. I know what you're thinking, no way this is real. I thought the same thing until I saw this. In 2007, a company published a magazine with Ningens on the cover. The magazines were completely destroyed with no trace, but I found the PDF file of what it looked like. It gets even weirder. Early February 2013, a huge mysterious object washes ashore that makes locals freak out. 3 days later, the website was taken down without a trace. Doing some more research, I found out that people from Japan created a forum page talking about all of the government corruption that was happening. They then began to speak on the Ningen, and somebody says that he was on the research ship when they captured it on camera, and then government officials raided the boat and even supposedly killing some of the people. 3 days later, the forum page was taken down without a trace, but I found it once again, and take a look at one of the videos somebody posted. So what do you think? Is this Ningen just some myth, or is the government hiding something much darker? This was only tier 1. Make sure to follow to see tier 2 because we have a lot more to cover.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. Registered nurse Shirley Smith said that she had a very rich patient who was of cancer. The patient had upside down crosses and a Satan's Bible by her bedside. Shirley said that she will never forget what happened. It was the middle of the summer, and yet it was so cold and dark in her room that you couldn't even stand it, even in the middle of the day. She said that it got so evil feeling in there that she had to call a priest to pray with her and her aides before they would even enter the room. When the patient passed away, she had not spoken in over 24 hours. And then all of a sudden, she sat straight up and said, "Satan, take me." And then she fell back on the bed. Shirley said that after she passed, the room got bright and extremely warm. Shockingly, when they moved the patient's body, they had to get rid of the mattress because where her body had been, it looked burnt. And the most horrible smell was emanating from the mattress cover. Needless to say, Shirley went to confession immediately because she did not want an evil spirit around her. A nurse said that one of their patients had a serious recurrence and had to be admitted. Over the course of several nights, he had become quite upset during rounds. He kept asking for his wallet, saying that he had to pay the ferryman. The medical student on rotation in the department took a quarter out of his pocket and put it in the patient's hand. The patient then dropped the coin into the cup on his bedstand and calmed down. Later that night, he passed away quietly. The nurse asked what happened. The medical student, who remembered his Greek mythology, said that the patient had to pay Charon, the ferryman, to be taken across the river Styx. A nurse said that he was doing rounds at a hospital. There was one 2-patient patient room, and one of the patients was a very loud and confused woman who could be quite a handful. On this particular night, she had a roommate who had passed away shortly before the nurse entered the room. She was DNR, so there was no code blue. When he entered the room, he noticed that the elderly lady, who was usually very loud and confused, was sitting quietly with her hands crossed neatly upon her lap. Something was different, and there was this look of serenity on her face. She asked him in a voice that seemed much younger and clearer than before, "Did you see them, young man? They're so beautiful." He said, "No, ma'am, there's no one else here." She said, "They're right next to you, talking to Mrs. Banneker. The angels. They're so beautiful." He said that he instantly felt every hair of his body stand up, and an electric tingle course up and down his spine. "They're not here for me this time," she said sadly.
Today we're going to be talking about some of the absolute worst shark animatronics, most of them underwater. Let's go. This image, I hate it. This guy that's on a dark ride, I don't like this one at all. Here's another version of it when it pops out of the water more. Who did this? Here's another image of the same shark with the track right by it. That is sickening, completely submerged like that. This image completely plagues my nightmares of the Jaws animatronic for the movie. This one's actually super interesting. Her name is Daisy, and she is a shark animatronic that looks super, super realistic. And she is rented out for people to like make movies and stuff of her. But here's an image of her being transported in the water, and she looks kind of goofy. This isn't an animatronic, but this image freaks me out every single time I see it. I'm pretty sure it's CGI, and it is from Deep Blue Sea, the best shark movie ever made. Another Jaws animatronic picture. I hate this one. All the tracks and all the animatronics, some mechanophobia coded. Hate it. This one has braces, and that red eye is freaking me out. Here's one of the Jaws animatronics without face skin if you needed to have nightmares tonight. There you go. These animatronics, oh my god, the fact that they're in the water is so sickening like that. Like, why? Sharks are the scariest because of their completely black eyeballs. Like, they have no, like, whites of their eyes. They're just, like, these black, just creepy, creepy eyes. I don't like them. You would have to pay me at least $500 to get on this ride, this Finding Nemo ride. The fact that Bruce sticks his head out like that. Like, look at him side-eyeing, dude. I don't like looking at this picture at all. And, of course, the Jaws animatronic at the Japanese Universal Studios. The worst. The fact that it is huge and it is in that water like that. Hate it. Which one was the worst for you?
This is what would happen if you stopped sleeping. After the first 24 hours, you would feel great, which is because early on, sleeplessness stimulates a part of your brain that causes you to feel happy and energetic. But not long after this 24-hour mark, you'll start to feel sluggish, be forgetful, and appear drunk to other people. After 2 full days of not sleeping, your body would appear to lose all its energy and feel like it's shutting down. Just because your body can't properly metabolize glucose without sleep. After 3 days, your skin would become pale, your eyes would become red, and you'll start to hallucinate. Which means that your worst nightmares are going to appear real right in front of your eyes, kind of like sleep paralysis, but you're awake. And after 2 full weeks, your immune system would be so weak that the common cold would be enough to unalive you. And after 3 full weeks, there's a super high chance that you'll have a heart attack. But let me know, what was the longest you ever went without sleeping?
This married teacher cried as cops arrested her after they found out she had sexually abused a student 45 times. And apparently she had groomed that student since he was 14 all the way up to about age 16. She'll face nearly 60 years in prison if she's convicted and found guilty. Apparently, the teenage student's mother was going through his phone and found disturbing texts between the teacher and her son. She decided to contact the school board and the police to get to the bottom of what's going on. As of today, she has resigned from her teaching job. And then, like I said, there was 45 counts of her and the student engaging in sex and stuff like that. Whether that was in school, before school, at her own home, everything. They found thousands of texts confirming what the boy's mother was saying too. When police confronted her, she claimed that the student was just some sort of stalker that was obsessed with her. And also, the husband had no idea what was going on. He just knew the student as some soccer player at the school. And that's when the text messages got pulled up. As of right now, she's denying any sexual relations with that student. And then they pulled from her notes app and found a memoir of things she was mad about. Apparently, she was mad that the teenage boy was not picking her as the first choice or something like that. She was literally just venting in her notes app about this kid. A 30-year-old grown teacher. Let me know your thoughts.
She was sacrificed by 3 teen boys so that their band could make it big and even inspired the movie Jennifer's Body. Elise Pollard was born on April 26 of 1980 in Arroyo Grande, California. Her parents raised her as a Christian and had a strong connection with their beliefs. On July 22nd of 1995, 15-year-old Elise was reported missing. For about 8 months, no one could find a trace of Elise, and her case went cold. The case opened up when 17-year-old Royce Casey admitted to taking the life of Elise with 2 other teenagers. He led police to mummified remains of Elise at a grave that was only a quarter-mile away from her home. The 2 other teens involved were 16-year-old Jacob and 15-year-old Joseph, and the 3 were all arrested and charged. According to Royce, they picked Elise because she was a blonde, blue-eyed virgin, and they were going to sacrifice her so that their metal band would make it big. Once the boys picked Elise as their victim, they stalked her for weeks and to find the best way they could get her away from school and to hang out with them alone. When they successfully lured Elise away from the school, they took her to a grove with the promise of substances. They attacked her from behind, put a belt around her neck, and strangled her. They all took turns stabbing her when she was left with 12 stab wounds. As these boys were attacking and kicking her body, Elise was praying to God for help and calling out for her mom. Elise eventually bled to death with her 12 stab wounds. But the torture didn't stop there. Once she had passed away, the boys essayed her body. Royce was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 21 years, and it's probably because he confessed to the police. Jacob and Joseph were both sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 26 years. In 2021, Royce was up for parole, and he stated that he was a changed person. He felt remorse. He even got an education while he was in prison, but he was denied. Many think that the movie Jennifer's Body is based on this case. In the movie, Jennifer is taken to the woods by these band members. They end up sacrificing her so that their band can make it big. But in the movie, she becomes a vampire and takes the life of guys.
Man, we know, man, how these movies and shows will be based off of real true stories, so that's not that far of a leap. It's a chilling case.
Would you ever visit this abandoned park that has a bunch of massive busts of old presidents? You know, I don't think I would. It used to be a lively place, but it closed in 2010, and some guy bought all of the busts and put it on some abandoned land. And it looks like this now. This is horrifying. I don't like this. This is how big a human is in comparison to all of these. That's just sickening. Can you imagine going there after dark in this abandoned area with all these massive... I couldn't do it. Also, this is Abraham Lincoln. If you know, you know. Like jail. Did someone do this on purpose, or was it a weird coincidence? This is kind of cool with all the plants on it. Still terrifying though. I have megalophobia, which is fear of huge things, and then abandoned places mixed together. No, thank you.
Ain't good.
I think George Washington's about to square up. Does anyone know which president this is that's missing the jaw though? This is horrific. But yeah, here's another picture of it. Would you go here? Some of them are missing the top of their heads. They had their wigs snatched. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it'd be cool to go, but also I would be terrified I'd poop.
She found out that her husband was cheating on her, so she cut his private part off. In 2015, Feng Lung from China had found out that her husband was sending emails to another woman. Her husband, Fan, had used her phone to send these emails, but he forgot to log out of his account. Fan was asleep in their bed when this happened, and without thinking twice, Feng grabbed a pair of scissors, walked over to him, and cut his private part off, and it was completely detached from his body. Fan was rushed to the hospital, and doctors were successfully able to reattach it and treat his injuries. Feng was unhappy that the doctors were able to do this, so she snuck into the surgery center and attacked her husband again. She did the same exact thing to Fan, but this time she threw it out the window. There was blood pouring from Fan's groin area, but he still went outside to go look for it. As he was running outside, Feng ran after him to try and attack him again, but that's when he punched her in the face. Hospital staff were able to separate the two, and Fan was treated for his new injuries. Unfortunately for Fan, doctors nor police were able to locate his private part. Feng ended up being arrested and charged with grievous bodily harm.
AI can now officially read your dreams. When you look at anything like this grass field, your brain's neural pathways form a specific pattern, sort of like a heat map. And every possible thing you look at or can even imagine has its own unique pattern. When you dream, your brain behaves much the same way, forming brain frequency patterns based on what you're dreaming about. Well, Asa Raskin from the Center for Humane Technology announced that they've done some tests, and what they discovered is impressive but incredibly alarming. They put a test subject inside an fMRI machine, which can read read brain activity and had them look at an image, in this case an image of a giraffe, and the machine mapped out their brainwave pattern. They then hid the image and fed only the brain map data to an AI image generator, probably a little more advanced than Midjourney. An AI that has never seen the original image of the giraffe, nor had access to an internet database that stored the original image either. It then generated, strictly based on the fMRI brain map data, what it determined that the person was looking at, and this is what it produced. Not exactly the same image, but I don't think you understand what it means that AI can now turn this into that with this level of accuracy. And we're still quite early in this technology, so it's only getting better from here. Then they took it a step further. They showed the test subject in the fMRI machine a video, and on top of generating what the subject is seeing, they also wanted to find out if the AI can read your inner monologue, the words you think to yourself in your own mind that no one else knows about. The test subject watched this video and was told to narrate what was going on in the video inside their own head. Here, let's do it together. You ready? Did you get all that? Now again, given only the subject's brain activity heat map, this is what the AI determined the person was thinking. I see a girl that looks just like me, get hit on the back, and then she is knocked off. Probably a bit different than what you thought, but this is literally AI reading our minds, and all it takes is someone's fMRI brain scan data. Our thoughts and dreams can now be leaked to the world. Give it a few more years and this technology will get near perfect. And sure, fMRI machines may look like this today, big, clunky, and all around you, but that technology is also going to improve. What if we have fMRI Apple Vision Pro goggles 10, 20 years from now? You'd be able to see and read what someone is thinking or even dreaming by just looking at them.
That's crazy, man. AI getting...
The case of the boy in the box is truly haunting. On February 25th, 1957, authorities received a call of a mysterious box in the woods outside of Philadelphia. They were horrified to find the remains of a young boy who seemed to be about 4 to 6 years old. He was malnourished and covered in bruises, and his cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma to the head. Not only is his case a mystery to this day, his identity has still never been found.
That's weird. Even with today's technology?
This is considered one of the most shocking cases in Polish history. On January 6, 1999, a sailor in Poland noticed something strange floating on the river. It was long and pale and it smelled very bad. And as he leaned in closer to get a better look, he saw an ear attached to it. Now what I'm about to say next is very disturbing, so be warned. After the sailor found this substance, DNA testing then indicated it was the skin of a missing woman named Katarzyna Zawada. And whoever did this to her turned her skin into a suit and was likely wearing it. So at this point, only her skin was found. Until January 14th, when pieces of her clothing and one leg was found also in the river. 17 years later, 52-year-old Robert J. was arrested for this. He previously worked in a dissection lab, meaning he was skilled in preparing animal skin. And he allegedly also knew the victim. As of October 2022, 23 years since the victim was found, Robert J. is still awaiting trial. As he remains in custody, investigators are allegedly gathering more evidence to solve the case. Follow for more.
So he's wearing a human skin suit. He skinned her alive and he was wearing her suit like a shapeshifter or something like that. Something you had out of a horror movie. Think about that, man. That's gonna rattle in your head for a while.
This is Charles Manson. He was the leader of the infamous commune/cult known as the Manson family. After spending his youth in and out of reform schools, Manson's first prison sentence came in 1956. He spent the next 11 years in and out of prison. In 1967 he was released from prison again and made his way to San Francisco. He became a sort of spiritual guru, with him and his followers, typically young women, being known as the Manson family. They created a home at Spahn Ranch in 1968. In July 1969, Gary Hinman was killed by the family. In August 1969, Sharon Tate, girlfriend of director Roman Polanski, was killed by the family. She was 8 months pregnant. The family also killed Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojtek Frykowski, Stephen Parent, Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, and Donald Shea. The murders were allegedly on the back of Manson's orders. There's so much more to this story and its background, so let me know if you'd like a part 2.
Yeah, the freaking cult doing all that for him, man. Manipulations.
One bone-chilling night in 1973, the 2 young McDaniel children claimed to see a creature lurking around their house. This isn't my typical true crime case, however, this story is too freaky not to talk about. The father actually didn't believe his children until one night when he heard something scratching at the side of their house. When shining the flashlight, it showed a human-like creature. Mr. McDaniel actually claimed it had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. His story freaked the town out so much that police actually threatened that if he didn't stop talking about this creature, they would arrest him. By the time all of this was over, 5 men actually had been arrested because they fired shots into the air when they thought that they saw the creature.
They're gonna arrest him for telling a story? That doesn't make sense at all.
This woman literally chopped her baby's arms off with a kitchen knife, all because God told her to. Dina and John Schlosser lived in Plano, Texas with their 3 daughters, ages 9, 6, and 10 months old. On November 22nd, 2004, John got a call from Dina saying she'd just cut off their baby's arms. He thought she was joking, even though Dina had a history of mental illness. Regardless, when you hear a claim like that, it should be taken seriously. Instead of calling the police, John called the pastor of his church. The pastor told John to call someone who can check on Dina and their baby Margaret to make sure everything is okay. He then called his neighbor Carolyn, who worked at a daycare center in the area, and asked for them to check on Dina and Margaret. Carolyn called Margaret on the phone, and that's when things started to get real. It's unclear what the phone call entailed, but whatever it was, it led a fellow daycare employee to call the police. 911 dispatcher Steve Edwards then called Dina to see if everything was okay. Dina picked up the phone and calmly told Steve she just cut off her baby's arms. Steve asked Dina if she wanted to help her baby, and she smugly said no. As if this woman didn't already seem crazy enough, Steve said he heard church hymns playing in the background. Like, what is this woman's deal? With that, police officers and paramedics rushed to the scene. Officer David Tilley was the first to arrive. He found Dina covered in red fluid with a gash on her shoulder and a 9-inch kitchen blade in her hand. One report said she was sitting at her computer table, casually reading her Bible with the gospel song "He Touched Me" playing in the background. Oh my god, this is like straight out of a horror movie. David was able to convince Dina to hand him the blade, and when she did, he noticed pieces of flesh on it. Ugh, I bet his stomach was in knots. More officers showed up, and they found the almost 11-month-old baby Margaret in her crib in the back bedroom. Sadly, the claims were true. Margaret's arms had indeed been cut off, and she was losing fluid quickly. Margaret was rushed to the hospital while officers interviewed Dina. Dina showed absolutely no emotion during her interview. She admitted to cutting off her baby's arms with a dazed look in her eyes. Apparently, Dina saw this story on the news about a lion attacking a young boy and took it as a sign of the apocalypse. God then commanded her to cut off the arms of her baby, and she obeyed. Dina also said God told her to cut her arms off after that, which is why she had the wound on her shoulder. During her interview, Dina was praying. She said, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord." She was also humming church hymns. It's so messed up. As for Margaret, it was too late to save her. Not only were both of her arms completely severed at the shoulder, but Margaret also had over 50 wounds on her face.
That's somewhat of a horror story, man.
These serial killers got caught because of stupid mistakes they made. And I cover all sorts of true crime and spooky stuff here, so make sure you follow along. Dennis Rader was a prolific serial killer in Kansas from 1974 to 1991. He was called BTK, which stood for Bind, Torture, Kill, because that's what he liked to do. But he also liked to taunt the police. He would send the police letters signed BTK, which could not be traced back to his real identity. So in the early 2000s, he had been dormant for over 10 years, but he still liked to taunt the police. And the early 2000s also brought new technology for communicating. So BTK, being the mad genius he was, wrote a letter to police asking if he sent them a floppy disk, would they be able to trace it back to him? And the police answered this letter basically saying, no, we totally can't do that. So BTK sends the police a floppy disk, and there's metadata on this floppy disk that says the last edit was done by someone named Dennis at Christ Lutheran Church. And then a 10-second Google search showed police that Dennis Rader was the president of the council at Christ Lutheran Church. Afterwards, the police basically came out and said that if Dennis had just kept his mouth shut and kept murdering, they probably would have never caught him. Let me know if you want more of these, because there's some other idiots out there.
He was doing it for 10 years. New technology gets introduced. He tried to taunt them again, man. I never got that concept. You do like something that horrific and then you just want to taunt people for it. They basically lied, kept saying, no, we can't track you, knowing that they could. And that led to his downfall. Hubris. I wonder how many other freaking people got caught because of that.
I wanted to kill my mother since I was 8 years old, and I'm not proud of that. A month later, I'm up living with my grandparents in the mountains, and 10 months later, I murdered them. It made it worse to be on top of a mountain. I was literally on top of a mountain when it happened. And I sensed everybody in the world just stopping what they were doing, turning around, saw what I did, and are coming to get me. And I knew I was paranoid at that moment. I knew anybody that came up there and gave me a funny look or a fishy eye or quizzical look, I'd have blown their brains out thinking they were coming to get me. And if it had been in a city, I would have been a mass murderer at age 15. I would have killed until they gunned me down. I wouldn't have been able to reason my way out of it. I was scared to death, and I was violent. I felt my back hit that wall. I was the rabbit that always ran, that always backed away, always burned his bridges. And suddenly there weren't any more, and my back hit that wall, and I came out screaming and kicking and shooting.
That was really dark.
Now, a lot of people have been tagging me in this video, so I'm here to explain the backstory to this whole thing. This is the case of Lauren McCluskey. Now, the girl you see in this video was a 21-year-old college student in Utah. On October 22nd, 2018 at 9:55 p.m., she was found dead in her dormitory. She was shot 7 times. That afternoon, her ex-boyfriend waited for her outside her dormitory for had scholarships to choose from. Like and follow for more.
So what happened? Was it... That's not horrifying. I've been at the Appalachian Mountains.
The woman was not dead. Miraculously, she survived just unimaginable. Her name is Charla Nash. Charla almost always covers her face with a hat and scarf. She wears it, she says, because she doesn't want to scare people.
Carla Nash. To go on to that story. Said she doesn't want to scare people. What happened? Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support. You guys, make sure you comment on the video down below. Hit that post notification bell, man, to always get notified when I upload my next video. You guys are going to catch you in the next video, Seekers. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.
Totally convinced witches are real after watching this. Humans should not be able to do this, y'all. How is that possible? He's showing you there's nothing attached to these sticks. These are defying gravity and the laws of physics. This is some insane witchcraft.
He changed his eyes, bro.
This guy's either a really good street magician, or he made some kind of pact with the devil and sold his soul to be able to do some of these things. This guy does insane levels of street magic, but it definitely goes beyond just regular card tricks and smaller scale type stuff. But you can go back and watch the video. He definitely didn't seem to have anything attached, no strings attached to these sticks. As always, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay weird.
How many times do people have to be told to stop messing with the paranormal, supernature, and the dead? Why do I say this? Because there was a guy who decided to live stream and do some sort of seance and saying he doesn't believe in ghosts. What happened next will scare the living daylights out of you. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, hell no.
I saw that.
hell no.
I'm out.
Look at that.
1.2 seconds, bro.
This is as clear of an image as I can get off of that video. This is the problem when people tell you not to go out in the middle of anywhere and perform your own type of anything, to call upon anything that you shouldn't call upon, because what's going to happen sooner or later, it's going to show up. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the video, I did not see any watermark on the video that would illustrate to me that it was AI. It could be AI, but it sure as hell does not look like AI. And those screams from him were very, very, very genuine. That did not sound like a person that was faking, oh, I'm scared. That sounded like a person that was terrified.
Yep.
So let me know your thoughts in the comments as to, do you think that video is genuine, or do you think that it's AI? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
That's the problem, man. We don't know if it's genuine nowadays or AI, bro. AI's getting so advanced, man. They can make a whole video, man. You can barely tell the difference, bro. Just a couple of years ago, you could, but nowadays, bro, you can't tell the difference. What do you guys think, bro? Is that genuine or AI?
Are some of the creepiest videos on the internet, part 5. Most of us know about the Christmas tradition, Elf on the Shelf. If you don't, it's basically a way to make your children behave by inviting a special scout elf that monitors your children's behaviors. Every day, children wake up to look for the elf who has changed places after reporting to the North Pole and back. And although these scouts can be simple or humorous, they also have a dark side. This video shows a family elf named Carol in the first recording asked the elf to tell Santa, "We've been really, really good." After stating his request, the elf darts its eyes to look at the camera before the cameraman sprints off. Although this video was proven to be a hoax and was just animated, there are still those who believe it. Regardless, it's sure to send a chill up your spine.
So the whole thing is
what's
cat.
going on with Miley Cyrus? This was her and her Gucci sponsorship, and something is very off because it's giving like witch. Like it's literally giving witch. And mind you, I don't mean this in a rude way because I love Miley Cyrus, and I'm just like, what does it profit a man to gain the whole entire world but loses his soul? I keep saying this time and time again. But the crazy thing is, it's not just that photo. Like, it's all of the photos. And the eyes, they do not lie. Mind you, she was just with Rick Owens. This is his wife, Michelle Lamey, and we know that she is a self-professing witch. Nothing, she's not hiding it. She's straight raw with it. She did an interview with them and things like that. And I feel like all of this since then, she has been kind of seeming soulless. We talked about Jenna Ortega and a lot of these other artists who seem to have had a light in their eyes before and now they don't. And you have to pose the question, why is that? What is going on? Let me say this again. I love Miley Cyrus. I just don't love what she has become.
This is not fake, and if you do this, your head is literally about to look like this. Now, if you like playing video games at all, you're probably going to want to watch this because this ain't good. A while ago, scientists depicted what the future game is going to look like, and this is you, I guess. Showing people with hunchbacks, weird body features, but there's a main thing on their head. Essentially a big line, like an indent in their head from where they're wearing their headsets all the time. And well, it's come true. A few Twitch streamers a while ago have already noticed they've got this. First one being Curtis, who shaved his head on live stream and literally saw the indent in his head. This then sparked a lot of other gamers to come out, try the same thing, and well, you can see the results right there. Of course, what's caused this is from wearing the headset like all day. I mean, you can kind of see how that would happen. So if you're in school, you come home and you play games all night, maybe you even have one. Hopefully not, but maybe you do. This has now, over the past few months, become a pretty big thing with a lot of people actually having this. Now, of course, it's not dangerous, it's not going to kill you, it's just not the best thing to have, I guess. But if you're just playing games every now and again, don't worry, it's not going to happen. This happens over quite a long time span. But from what people have been saying as well, once you take the headset off and you don't use it for a while, it does just kind of go away.
Are house parties making a comeback? What you are seeing is footage of an insane Halloween party that got way out of hand and had to be shut down by police. This happened in Woodland Hills, LA, and according to Royal News, who captured this footage, the host initially promoted this party online, selling tickets in advance for just $35, but then charged up to $150 for whoever wanted to pay at the door. But, similar to the real Project X, way more people turned up than anticipated, and things quickly started getting out of control. Dozens of 911 calls started flooding in, reporting injuries from stampedes. A massive fight broke out, people were spilling out into the streets, and the LAPD's air support unit estimated over 3,000 people in that neighborhood alone. When police turned up, one teenager was discovered lying unconscious in the street and was rushed to hospital. Several others were treated for injuries that they sustained in the stampede. And you'd think that most people would condemn this kind of behavior. But 2025's been so rough that people were actually proud, saying things like the earth was healing because the kids are partying again, and that there was still hope for the next generation after all.
If I was Punga right here, I would have popped off on Marlon for what he said. You gotta understand that the mouth hold a lot of power, no digging. So what you say out your mouth can come true. So what he said to Punga is wild as fuck, y'all. Look at this shit. Go ahead. Oh, he ain't. I'm good. You may not be here long. I see something bad in your life. You got like 2 years left. You gotta watch him. Y'all hang out with him now. He ain't gonna be here in 2 years. Don't you look like you look coffin ready? I don't see how that was funny. I look coffin ready? Fuck, they gonna sacrifice me? Fuck you mean I got 2 years left to live? Boo boo. KFC.
Oh, I had that speaking steak logo on it, man. So I have to question the validity of that, bro. Could be cut it up and edit it different, man.
Trying to tell us the truth about what we eating without telling us the truth about what we eating. So KFC put out a new ad, and in this new ad, let's just say it's a whole bunch of shit that don't got nothing to do with eating chicken. And for lack of a better words, in that video, it looks like they're saying that they've been feeding us people and not chicken. Matter of fact, look at this shit. Look at this shit. This ain't even a whole commercial. The whole commercial is crazy than this. Look at this shit. So what this mean right here? Oh, no. Look. So you just turned the human into a chicken tender, right? Okay. Leave them what? And the chicken. And this takes me back to the video that I made about McDonald's selling 6.5 million burgers a day. Where the hell is all of this chicken coming from? What I'll say is this. These people have a way of letting us know what's going on without letting us know what's going on. And that commercial, ad, or whatever you want to call it, just told me everything that I needed to know. See, this is the reason why I don't really like to eat fast food right now. And I'm not telling you to stop eating fast food. You can do what you want. The only thing I'm asking is, how many pieces of chicken do KFC sell in a day? And once y'all tell me that, then we'll understand what's going on over here. These people are selling what? Look at that ad again. Tell me what you think that ad is saying. Because that ad is speaking volumes. I'm out of here.
You guys ever heard of the Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia? This archaeologist man was looking at this mountain, and it had perfectly 4 sides. And he's like, that kind of looks like a pyramid. And so he started doing excavations and stuff.
Yeah.
He found these giant stones, perfectly stacked. In the middle of these blocks was geopolymer, which is like an ancient cement. This pyramid was built, based off carbon dating, 35,000 years ago. The Great Pyramid, 7,000. This is where it gets really weird. He got shut down because Zahi Hawass, the lead Egyptologist in Egypt, pleaded with the Bosnian government saying, don't let him look into this any further.
Weird!
And so the Bosnian government's like, you can't go dig up anymore. The whole story just got swept under the rug. And then over 50 archaeologists came out to observe it themselves, and they're like, this is a pyramid. If you get a satellite image of this place, there's 2 other mountains that have a pyramid shape to them. It's just so weird that every single culture had a giant pyramid.
I never had a Bugs Bunny one, but I had the Boots one. You didn't have the Boots one because it didn't exist, bro. No!
Nah, that's cap,
Because
bro.
in the pictures, if you look in the ice cream truck,
There's always just a one singular one with Dora, never a partner with it.
Hey, I have a vivid memory of me like eating.
YouTuber just built IRL aimbot for FPS games. Nice. His name is basically homeless. He created a system that uses AI to detect enemies on screen, then physically controls his arm and trigger finger using electrical muscle stimulation. Here's how it works. A machine learning model called YOLO identifies enemies in real time. A Raspberry Pi calculates exactly where his crosshair needs to move. Then EMS devices send electrical pulses to specific muscles in his forearm, forcing his arm to move and his finger to pull the trigger, all without him consciously doing anything. His body just moves on its own. The system achieves reaction times under 100 milliseconds. That's faster than humanly possible. Normal human reaction time is 200 to 300 milliseconds. But here's the debate. Traditional aimbots modify the game code. Anti-cheat software can detect that. This system doesn't touch the game at all. It modifies the player's body instead. So is it cheating? He's not hacking the game. He's hacking himself. The gaming industry has no rules for this because nobody thought someone would literally electrically control their own muscles to gain an advantage. When someone can achieve superhuman gaming performance by letting AI physically control their body, where do we draw the line between skill and technological enhancement?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if y'all ready for this one. Let's dig deep into Area 51. So we know that most people feel that Area 51 is a place where they experiment, dissect, and hold aliens. But my question is, why and how are they capturing them? If they know that these beings are highly intelligent, why not learn from them? Now we know that there's a special part of the G-Myth that handles these situations, aka the Illuminati, the Cabal, the Shadow G-Myth, whatever they call them, the ones in charge of putting the veil over our head. Just like there are good and bad people on Earth, there are good and bad aliens. The ones who want to keep planets at low vibrations take over them. But you also have good ones who want to bring knowledge, peace, and information. That's how some people think the Egyptians built the pyramids with their help. Now, a lot of people have said that these bad ETs have infiltrated our government already. AKA why you see shapeshifters and all that. Why do millions of people get kidnapped? Why does trafficking happen? Why is there so many low vibrational things happening on this planet? To keep it under the control of these beings. Now, if they're working together, what is the reason for Area 51? Probably to lock the good aliens up who are trying to help this planet, so this matrix can still keep running. I know y'all have seen the sky turning green. Rainbows being shown everywhere. Now in Norse mythology, rainbows represent the gateway to different planets. What if all these rainbows and the sky changing means that these beings are coming back to help us? And it's Area 51's job, with the help of these Greys, the Pleiadian race, to lock up these high vibrational beings when they come down. That's why when people spot them, the G-Myth tries to cover it up and say, oh, they're just conspiracy theorists. But just know that more of the good ones are coming. Just pay attention to the sky and stay dangerous.
All right, 3. So you guys believe that, man? We got some good aliens, bad aliens out there. That's why they abduct them or take them to Area 51 to keep them separated from the bad ones. That's an interesting theory. Never heard of that before.
Sky Atlas just changed fast and quite dramatically, actually. Here's the latest. So, as it hit perihelion as predicted on October 29th, which was yesterday, new data from NASA's STEREO, SOHO, and GHOST 19 shows that the object rapidly brightened and it shifted to a color bluer than the sun itself. That's coming from several sources, one of which is Avi Loeb, who confirmed the change using the fresh imagery that was taken between October 18th and the 24th. So basically a blue color means that it's releasing higher energy. Higher energy particles, likely fresh gas, dust, as it heats up, nearing that sun. And that could tell us a lot about what the object is actually made of. So it's currently behind the sun where it was predicted to be. It still seems to be on the course as predicted, and it shows no signs of fragmentation yet, but it's evolving quickly. So over the next few days, our researchers will be watching to see if the brightness holds or if it collapses, which will give a clue to whether it's going to survive its swing around the sun or not. So I'll keep you posted as new data rolls in, but stay curious, stay grounded.
Thanks for the info update.
This is crazy. Scientists have discovered a brand new colour that no human has ever seen before. Now, they have called this colour Olo. So this colour cannot be seen with the human eye. And it requires a little bit of a trick to be able to see it. So stick with me, I'm going to do the trick with you, and let's see if you can see the colour. So the colour behind me is olo. And you're probably thinking, yeah, it looks like turquoise. But this colour isn't olo, because you're looking at it with your human eyes. So to be able to see it properly, we have to stimulate something called the M cones in our eyes. And this is how we're going to do it. So what I need you to do is I need you to hit pause on this video, and I need you to stare at this colour for 60 seconds. Then I will put that olo colour back on the screen, and I want to know if you see it differently. Is it different? So there is a lot of people saying that they see this completely differently. I have tried the test, and it looks no different to me. Please let me know in the comments.
You guys,
I ain't see nothing.
We are now in the time of prophecy. It just went biblical in China, y'all. What in the Atlantis 2.0 is going on here? Did you guys hear what happened to China, y'all? China, like whole cities are lit. So remember when we talked about that these weather anomalies were popping up out of nowhere? The people that have been impacted by this, of course there are some tragedies. Folks are saying people are missing. I mean, look at this, y'all. And this right here is how you know the storm was really bad, because you have the bridges in China overflowing with water. Y'all, there's no cap on the bridges. How is this even possible, y'all? Huh? You know what I'm saying? China is one of the most ancient places on earth. This is where we used to be. It is full of ley lines, ancient technology, sacred temples, y'all. We're watching a whole reset happening in China, y'all. They're calling this the flood of the century. It has broken records. Wow. Do you guys think you can ever rebuild from something like this? I mean, this is somebody's home, y'all. And that right there is also somebody's home. Wow. Do y'all see how the weather's popping up everywhere? Like, who asked for this? I mean, of course we're like, you know, the earth does what it wants, but this right here is crazy, man. You can't do nothing about it. You can only watch it. I hope you guys are paying attention, because this is not just about climate change, y'all. There's a shift within the mist. Let me know what you guys think about this video, y'all.
How rare is your body? Only 10% of people are left-handed. However, they actually tend to live shorter lives. And only 1% of people in the world are ambidextrous. It means you have no preference of which hand you write and draw with. And only 1.5% of people have a single palm crease. This is mostly found in males and is a hereditary trait. And less than 1% of people have an extra rib. Most of us have 24 ribs, but some people are actually born with 25. And it's called a cervical rib. Now 3% of people have these little X's on their palms. It's extremely rare, but it's a sign that you have strong character.
Here's what some of the most famous monsters actually are. The chupacabra. The goat-griefing livestock leech believed to be first seen in Puerto Rico was more than likely a dog with a severe case of mange, and that's when mites burrow into the skin and basically cause parasitic alopecia. Bigfoot, different animals, same beast, or whatever it was Kobe said. Anyway, it was probably a mangy bear. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. What the hell mange does? Coke bear done graduated to meth? And I don't mean numbers. The Loch Ness Monster. There have been many theories, but what's most likely was probably just an escaped circus elephant with trunks out like Dragon Ball. For centuries, there have been stories of killer Cyclops, a one-eyed op to humanity. Whole time, someone probably just found an expired elephant skull in an Olympic long jump to a conclusion. And last, almost every sea monster story you've ever heard was probably just some whale freeing his willy. That's exactly what you think it is, the more you know.
It is, what the hell?
What if theories. What if everything behind you disappears, but when you look back, it reappears? What if our shadows were warning us about something in the dark because they disappear in it? What if you're the only person left on Earth and everyone and everything around us are just imaginary people and things we've made up so that we don't feel lonely? What if every time you think you hear your name being called, it's actually just your family trying to wake you up from a coma? What if the meteor that killed the dinosaurs was actually a UFO and we're the aliens?
Tell me, seekers, man, down below, what are the most freaking weirdest what if questions she asked? I think when she said about the aliens and how if we hear our real name being called by family, we're really trying to wake up from a coma. I couldn't even imagine that.
Wholesome facts that'll make your day slightly better. Part 2. If you've already made it to the airport without dying, you shouldn't be nervous about flying because you've already made it through the deadliest part of plane travel. Whenever you pet an animal, it actually lowers your cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone. Side note, this may not work on electric eels, porcupines, or anything that could decimate you in 2 seconds.
You think?
Because guinea pigs get lonely, it's actually illegal in Switzerland to own just one. You have to get at least 2 if you want to have any at all. Sometimes tarantulas will keep tiny frogs as pets. The frogs will eat small insects that would typically eat the tarantula eggs, and in exchange, the frog gets a pretty damn good bodyguard. Capybara Land is a place in Japan where you can quite literally hang out with capybaras and see them chilling in hot springs. If 99% of the world's population finds you unattractive, that would mean that 78 million people still find you attractive.
You got a chance. You got a shot out there with somebody, bro. That's insane, man. Even if half the population thinks you're
This is
ugly.
one of the craziest urban legends I've ever heard. And it ended up being true. So almost 100 years ago, there was an aquarium in Australia that had a giant tiger shark on display. And the legend goes that one day, in front of like groups of families, the shark threw up a human arm. And not only is that true, but it opened a murder investigation. Also, this week's episode is all about Australian true urban legends, so make sure you listen. So after the shark threw up the human arm, the police had to figure out whose it was and why it was in the shark's belly. Well, the first thing the police noticed was the arm was cut cleanly, not jagged like it was from a shark bite, meaning that the arm was intentionally cut. So now it's clear that this was a murder, but whose arm is it? Well, one thing they noticed is that the arm has 2 boxers in a fighting stance tattooed on it. So they end up writing about that in the paper, and one guy who was reading it goes, "Hey, that sounds like my brother's tattoo." His brother was a man named Jim Smith, and he was involved in the seedy underbelly of Sydney society. Jimmy ran insurance fraud scams in Sydney, and he was just involved with a lot of bad people. And the last person he was seen with was one of Sydney's most notorious criminals. The story has a lot of twists, including how was he involved with the last guy he was seen with. And there's a lot of fun Australian urban legends, like the story of the Button Man. So make sure you check out this week's episode.
Fun fact of the day that my
Crazy.
small brain cannot physically comprehend. This one really did make me say, what the fuck? I want you to do me a favor and pour yourself a glass of water. Do it! Now, there is an immensely high chance that that water you're about to drink is older than the solar system. This is because it existed in ice specks floating in cosmic clouds before any of this shit came to be. Oh, and one more thing. Scientists estimate that every glass of water you drink has 100% passed through a dinosaur. So put immensely bluntly, the most vital thing humans need to survive is Jurassic wee-wee. My brain! Let's make a deal. If you didn't know these facts or they shocked you in any way, you have to share it. Now remind someone to stay hydrated today. And then immediately send them this video. We're so evil. Elon!
Jurassic wee-wee, bro. What the hell? I didn't even know that, but if you think about it, yeah, like the water we drinking, I guess he said they've been passed through dinosaurs, man. We drink Jurassic wee-wee, man. The more you know. Tap in with us. You gonna learn some things.
What's the most dangerous place on Earth? Number 8 is Lake Natron in Tanzania. The lake's so alkaline, animals get mummified. Number 7, Morgan Island, off the coast of South Carolina. 4,000 monkeys all infected with the herpes B virus. 6 is Mexico's giant crystal cave. 1,000 feet underground. Cave is 113 degrees Fahrenheit and 100% humidity. 5, Oymyakon, Russia. The coldest town on Earth, reaching minus 50 degrees. Number 4, Runnet Island. In the 70s, the US government buried radioactive plutonium. Number 3, the K2 Summit. It's the inhospitable mountain summit in the world. Number 2 is Snake Island, an island full of thousands of poisonous snakes. It's illegal to go here. Number 1 is North Sentinel Island, home to the indigenous people who have violently rejected contact with the outside world. So much so, if you even get close, they'll swim out to you and try to kill you.
Now this is insane. Today I learned that in a remote village in Turkey, there is a family that walks on all fours. Now these individuals have baffled scientists since they were first discovered in 2005, and initially experts couldn't explain why they were the only known humans to walk on all fours. The only theory that they had was that humans were beginning to devolve. Yes, I am not kidding. I literally just posted a YouTube video reacting to some of these insane theories. The documentary on the family got roasted so hard that they had to turn off the comments. It's pretty good, check it out. Now the real reason that they walk on all fours, and to sum it up very simply, their parents are first cousins and have 18 children. And unfortunately, because of this, they were born with an extremely rare disorder that makes them lose their sense of balance. They had no balance as babies, and instead of learning to stand upright and walk like the rest of us, they remained crawling for life.
Damn, crawling for life? I couldn't do that.
Unfortunately, on
on Saturday, April 20th of this year in Newport, Michigan, a child's birthday that's supposed to be filled with joy was then filled with sadness and grief. 66-year-old Marcella Chidester drove her car into Swan Boat Club where a birthday party was being hosted. There, she unalived 2 children and injured 13 other individuals. Later in court, she testified stating that she had a seizure while she was driving and that caused her to have the accident. But police testified stating that she was tested for alcohol and she was highly intoxicated at the time of the crash. Her lawyer then claimed she did have 1 glass of wine before getting behind the wheel, but police said based on her BAC, blood alcohol concentration, it's impossible she only had 1 drink. As of April 23rd, she's being held on a $1.5 million bond and is being charged with murder. Being that this case is so recent, her exact jail sentence has not yet been determined. The 2 victims are 8-year-old Lana Phillips and her younger brother, 4-year-old Zane Phillips. I've put a link to a GoFundMe in the comments section for this family, and in the meantime, how long do you think Marcella should receive in jail?
Does anyone remember
How long,
when they were building a
Seekers?
freeway outside of St. Louis and they found over 200 bodies in one spot? And before I even get into it, you know that's what tonight's episode is going to be about.
Whoa.
So outside of St. Louis, there's this one area that has all of these strange mounds. There's no hills anywhere else, so people always wondered if they were man-made. But in the 1960s, when they were building a freeway there, they had to cut through these mounds for construction. So they thought they would just cut into them and there would be dirt inside. But that was not the case. One of the mounds had 272 bodies buried inside of it.
Damn.
And they were like, what is going on? Is this from a serial killer? Well, 2 things. First, the bodies were in really bad shape. The skeletons were largely women, and they were all lined up in these rows. And the ones that weren't women, a couple of them had been beheaded. And the second thing is that these bodies were 1,000 years old. It turns out that these mounds were from an ancient civilization that practiced human sacrifice. And this was kind of a big discovery because historians didn't think that indigenous Americans practiced ritual sacrifice until that discovery. But why were they sacrificing people and how were they doing it? Well, if you want to know more about what was happening in the area and you maybe want to know more about human sacrifice in general, you're definitely going to want to check out tonight's episode.
That's actually insane, Seekers, man. It wasn't just one man. There's like they said it was like 2 or 3 of them, so they was all filled up to the brim. Man, more you know, but like times back then, people went to some dark things, man.
These are the biggest things in the world. Up first, we have the world's biggest functioning iPhone. It's made by the YouTuber Matthew B. It's over 6 feet tall and yes, actually works. And this is the world's largest pizza, which is enough to feed an entire village. It was made by 5 friends in Italy in December 2012. It measures 13,580 square feet. And this is the largest truck in the world. It's the Belize dump truck. And this truck is over 65 feet long, 33 feet wide, and 26 feet tall.
These are interesting facts to tell your friends. Part 1. Up first, did you know 2 days in your life will not last 24 hours? And those days are the day you were born and the day you will die. This is absolutely insane, and just wrap your head around that for a second. Next, it is almost impossible to speak the biggest word in the English language. And it's on the screen now, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it.
Me either.
Next up, you only know you fell asleep when you wake up. So next time you're laying in bed trying to sleep, just know you won't know you fell asleep until you've woken up. Next up, you can feel that your toes are touching, but your brain just ignores it. Do me a favor and try and feel your toes touching. I bet you can. Next, 90% of people after a discussion are left thinking of arguments of stuff they could have talked about. And I know I'm 100% guilty of this. Next, our brain generates about 50,000 thoughts a day. I guarantee you can't even write down 50,000 thoughts. Finally, the last person you think about before you fall asleep is the source of all of your pain or all of your joy. So just remember that.
Really? I never even thought about it like that. Who do you guys think about before you guys fall asleep? Is it joy or pain?
Fun facts that you might find pretty damn interesting. Number 1, banging your head against a wall for an hour burns 150 calories. Number 2, approximately 40,000 Americans are injured by toilets each year. Number 3, there's a higher chance of you being elected president of the United States than winning the lottery. Number 4, an average of 100 people choke to death on ballpoint pens each year. Number 5, it is harder to be an employee at Walmart than a student at Harvard. because Walmart has a lower acceptance rate. Number 6, human birth control pills work on gorillas. Number 7, there are 2 million millionaires in the United States. I am not one of them. And number 8, like fingerprints, every tongue print is different from person to person.
That's actually a freaking mind-blowing fact with the one she said about president, man. That the president, that really goes to show you, man, how sometimes, man, I think the lottery, man, is just freaking corrupted, or there's a theory behind it where, like, they be choosing people to win. Because that makes no sense how you have a higher chance of becoming a president than actually winning the lottery. If you said that to a person, they probably look at you like you was crazy. But I guarantee you that's true.
This is why you should never go swimming in a lake again. If you ever go swimming in a lake, you can get a very severe brain infection called an agleria, and it's caused by amoebas that are found in lakes and rivers. The amoeba will then start slowly eating your brain, which you would most likely die from. This is extremely rare to get, but every time you go into a lake, you actually risk getting it. So, I for one am never going in a lake again, and I think you guys should do the same.
Thanks for that helpful information. We will not be doing it.
We are
No.
the most dangerous thing in Massachusetts. Yep, I'm talking about the Pukwoodji. We're those legendary forest spirits you've probably heard whispers about. We've been hanging around Massachusetts' woods since the Wampanoag tribes first called this place home. Sure, we can be a bit of a nuisance to humans, and once upon a time, we kinda got along. But then things took a turn for the worse, and humans started coming after us hard. Ever since, we've had it out for humans, not holding back, and taking them out whenever we see a chance. We're all about messing with our targets, and what we do next, well, that depends on who you run into us at. If you're a hiker who's lost, we might help you find your way, though not back to the trailhead, if you catch my drift. Out hunting, watch out for our poison arrows, and if you're a young woman, well, we've got plans that don't bear going into. Long story short, if you're wandering through Massachusetts, keep your eyes peeled and know your surroundings. Comment your name if you want to be protected, and if you have an encounter with us, get away as soon as possible because
you will never go near the woods again if you watch this documentary. It is about hunters and people who specialize in being in the wilderness who just vanish without a trace. And I'm not talking like they wander into the woods and just go missing. In one of these cases, a guy went into the woods with a group of his friends and they went hunting. He was only about a couple of feet away from them when suddenly they turned around and he was gone. In many of these cases, massive search parties are released to try to find these people and they are never found. A couple of theories are discussed in this doc, like paranormal theories, Sasquatch theories, ideas that maybe they like fell into crevasses. If trained professionals are going missing in the wilderness, you bet your ass I'm not going anywhere near the woods. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced anything weird in the wilderness, and hit follow for more docs to watch.
She nailed it, man. Those are trained professionals going in the woods and they just disappearing, jumping off the face of the earth, and I ain't going nowhere near there, bro.
A woman who was missing for 30 years was just found alive in Puerto Rico. So Patricia Copta vanished without a trace from her home in Pennsylvania in 1992. The situation surrounding her disappearance was a little strange and scary because Patricia's mental health had been getting worse and worse over the years. So when she disappeared, the police told her younger sister and husband that they thought she left on her own accord and basically closed the case. They thought that she would maybe come back, but then 30 years went by with no phone calls and no contact. Everyone in her life had assumed she passed away. But recently, an 83-year-old woman in an elderly home in Puerto Rico started opening up to a nurse for the first time. The woman had been diagnosed with dementia and started bringing up things in her life that she had never spoken about before. This alarmed one of the nurses at the facility, who contacted authorities to get a DNA test because she started believing that this woman was a missing woman from the United States. And sure enough, it was Patricia. She had never told anyone about her previous life and had never contacted her family. Her husband and sister were contacted because they're still alive and they were shocked.
Could you guys imagine that, man, just finding a lost relative like that?
12-year-old girl unalived her entire family so she could be with her 23-year-old boyfriend. Jasmine Richardson was a normal kid until she turned 11 years old. She started dressing in a darker aesthetic, liking some darker things. She would post on websites like MySpace and VampireFreaks.com, telling people she was 15 instead of 11. Because the thing about Jasmine is even though she was 11, she didn't look 11. She always kind of looked older than she actually was. She started sneaking out to hang out with her new older friends and would meet older guys. By the time that Jasmine was 12 years old, she was in a full-on relationship with this freak, 23-year-old Jeremy. And just so you know, just because she was lying about her age on social media, this guy was fully aware that his girlfriend was 12 years old, a literal preteen, and he would also tell people that he was a 300-year-old werewolf. So for context, we are dealing with a full-on freak. Jasmine's parents were horrified when they found out that their 12-year-old daughter was online telling people that she was older than she actually was, and that she was dating a full-on adult. So they did their best to keep Jeremy away. Jasmine and Jeremy didn't want to be apart, and they thought that the only way that they could be together is if Jasmine's parents were no longer alive. What started out as jokes became real plans to not only unalive Jasmine's parents, but her 8-year-old brother as well. On April 22nd, 2006, Jasmine secretly led Jeremy into her home where he brutally unalived her parents. Jasmine's 8-year-old brother, Jacob, heard the entire thing while hiding in his room holding his lightsaber for protection. It's like heart-shattering. It's unclear who actually unalived 8-year-old Jacob because Jasmine and Jeremy blame each other for his death. Jasmine and Jeremy thought that they were soulmates, and now with her parents out of the picture, they were going to be together forever. But in reality, that was not the case. They were actually quickly brought to justice because they were bragging to anyone that would listen about what they had just done to her entire family. And of course, as soon as they were arrested, the soulmates turned on each other. Jeremy was sentenced to 3 life sentences, but due to Jasmine's age, she only served 6 years in a rehabilitation center and 4 years on probation. She was fully released into society in 2017 and has been out living in society free as a bird ever since under a new name. Actually, a lot of controversy in this case because of that, but what do you think? Do you think Jasmine is a victim, a child manipulated by a predator, or do you think if she's old enough to do the crime, she's old enough to do the time?
Terrifying facts you never knew.
You know what to
If
do.
your immune system ever found out that you have eyeballs, you would go blind. Which means right now your immune system has no clue that you can see. Because if it did, they would attack your eyeballs until you can no longer ever see. This is because your eyeballs have a protein in them called crystalline that doesn't exist anywhere else in your body. So if your immune system found out and checked them out, it would be like, something's wrong here. Studies show that most serial killers are born in November. Today's high school students have the same anxiety levels as insane asylum patients had in the 1950s. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, my anxiety might be up there too. There's a disease called fatal familial insomnia, where people suddenly one day lose their ability to fall asleep, which leads them to slowly go insane. They can't distinguish dreams from reality anymore and go into some type of paranoia. It becomes so severe that they eventually die. Those that make it to the final stage and don't die usually end up in a vegetative state, no longer conscious. And it can happen to any one of you. About 3,000 people go missing every year in the United States. The last execution by guillotine was in 1977. This was in France. And also that was the same year the first Star Wars movie came out. You are always 6 minutes away from death, but breathing resets the clock. In 2011, Anatoly Yakovich was arrested for having 12 dolls in his apartment. Only problem is, they weren't normal dolls. They were recently deceased little girls that had been dug up and dressed to be put on display. In 2012, a Burger King employee anonymously posted this to 4chan. It said, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." It only took 20 minutes for people to track down the branch that he worked at, and he was fired. You really never know what people are doing to your food. H.H. Holmes was a serial killer who built a torture hotel in the 19th century. He had secret rooms with gas chambers, trap doors, and stairs that led to nowhere. He loved to play with his victims' minds. It was almost like a real-life Saw movie. Matheny was an infamous serial killer who not only cooked his victims to eat for himself, but also made them into burgers, using their remains. He then sold them to unsuspecting customers from a roadside food stand. We really never know what we eat. I'm cooking all my food myself. That's why I don't eat over people's house. In 2021, a new homeowner was shocked to find a boarded up wall. When he ripped the boards off the wall, he discovered a hole. In that hole was a doll clutching a note. The note saying that she killed a family who lived there in the 1960s. Be honest, would you move out?
I'm
In
out.
1978, there was a pilot named Frederick Valentine. Him and his plane disappeared in Australia. His last communication was, "Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering above me again." It is hovering, and it is not an aircraft. This is a mugshot of William West and William West. Oh, and they're not related at all, but they were both sent to Leavenworth Prison at the exact same time in 1903. And after some confusion, the staff finally figured it out. They were two different people who had the exact same name and looked identical. This was said to be one of the main reasons why we now use fingerprints to identify somebody. There's biotech being developed as we speak that can make prisoners feel they are serving an 1,000-year sentence in a matter of 8 hours. That's horrifying. Imagine thinking you spent 1,000 years somewhere, and then when you wake up and snap out of it, you realize that it was only a couple hours. Do you know how crazy that is? Anyways,